Next Bank is proud to sponsor Digital Weather Desk with local meteorologist Jared Floyd.
The Digital Weather Desk is your local source for the latest weather information to help keep you and your family safe and to plan your week. You can follow us on our social media platforms, download our app, and you can also find us at digitalweatherdesk.com. The Digital Weather Desk,
Powered by Century Next Bank.
Everybody, thanks for joining in on this Tuesday. This is the Digital Weather Desk powered by Century Next Bank. I'm Jared Floyd, and we are on our way to another very warm afternoon. In fact, already into the mid to upper 70s along the Mississippi Valley. This morning's forecast made possible, or this midday forecast made possible by ServPro, Monroe, West Monroe. Faster at any size disaster, call or click servpro.com today. Overall, still a lot of skepticism in regards to the weekend forecast. If you have Saturday plans, rain is in the forecast. Thunderstorms probably in the forecast. Heavy rain potential, possibility. Severe threat, uncertain, but appears limited, at least at this point. That said, if you can wait until the last possible second to cancel weekend plans or postpone them or reschedule them or make indoor alternatives, I would hold off as long as possible and give this forecast an opportunity to breathe. And again, reminder, we're talking about Saturday, Sunday, Monday rain chances, and this is Tuesday. So there's still a lot of time for the forecast to change, and I would still expect the potential for some pretty dramatic changes here and there. Not necessarily in terms of the overall makeup of the forecast, but in terms of the timing. Perhaps some of the rain totals may need to be shifted around. The severe weather threats look fairly limited. That could still change to a certain degree. We'll get to all of that in just a minute. Temperatures, again, quite warm. Compare that to where we were at this point midday yesterday. Pretty much in the ballpark. Dew points are climbing, though, back into the low to mid 60s in most spots. And again, the warm, humid air mass is going to be here to stay. We're at least seeing some sunshine mixed in with the clouds this afternoon. Winds are out of the south and, or late morning. Sorry, I say this afternoon. It's 11:57 technically. 11:58. Anyway. Winds are back out of the south, 5 to 15 miles per hour, but we've seen some higher gusts at times in the last hour, generally up to about 20 miles per hour, so it's breezy. But other than that, no real big bother. A reminder of the drought conditions. No big surprise here. We've needed rain for a while, and we're not going to get it today. Day planner shows daytime highs back in the low end of the 80s. Your day planner made possible by the Monroe Chamber of Commerce and Leaders of Change. Cloud cover will kind of traipse in and out through the afternoon, but I would expect to at least see some filtered sunshine. A lot of us have seen that already today. And speaking of, here's a look at the visible satellite. And again, we've got some high clouds moving through, but then there's also kind of a layer of low to mid-level clouds. More mid-level clouds across the region. And within that, we are getting some breaks and some sunshine. And overall, not too bad of an afternoon. Again, the lack of rainfall is problematic, obviously. It's well above normal and very, very spring-like across much of the region. As you take a look at the radar, not a whole lot happening. That should change as we go into the weekend. Futurecast shows winds back out of the south tonight through the daytime hours tomorrow. And with an approaching front and a trough of low pressure taking shape and advancing through portions of the central plain states late tomorrow and into early Thursday, there will be a window of opportunity along this stalling front for some thunderstorm potential. The general thought process is that most of this will stay generally along the I-30 corridor and back to the north and west. I really can't imagine a significant severe storm potential in our area. Simply because I think the front just kind of pulls up almost stationary, stalls, and then actually just kind of retreats back to the north as this first disturbance makes its way through, and then the main trough of low pressure continues to stay repositioned out to our north and west. And as I mentioned, it looks like we're going to see this deep trough of low pressure kind of split into two pieces, and that kind of further complicates the forecast going into the weekend. Friday looks generally pretty quiet. Most of Thursday looks quiet, as does Friday. Maybe a spotty shower or storm just embedded in the warm, humid environment, but I think most of us will probably be rain-free for Thursday and Friday. Most of the storm potential stays well to our northwest. And then as we head into Friday afternoon, you can see that next disturbance starting to push a kind of a resurging cold front back into the Ozarks and the Plain States. Most of our activity, if we were to see anything Friday afternoon, again, just embedded in the strong southerly winds coming up off the Gulf coastline, and that would generate maybe some bubble-up showers or storms, but nothing really overly organized. And then as a front gets stretched out across the region on Saturday, it does set us up to deal with a lot of widespread showers and storms as the front slowly trudges southeastward. But the orientation of the boundary and the lack of upper-level support really doesn't drive a really significant severe weather threat. Usually, early March, 80s with dew points in the 60s, and a cold front approaching, you're thinking, got to be severe weather. Not necessarily in this instance. Janice, good afternoon. And this is where the front ends, or this is where that computer model ends, and we have to pick up another computer model where that one leaves off to look deeper into the weekend. And so you can, again, obviously see a slow-moving southeasterly cold front across the region as we work through the day on Saturday, and that's what's going to be driving all of this rainfall. Thunderstorms probably expected, but the severe weather threat will likely be isolated at best. At least that's how things shape up for now. As we go deeper into the weekend, the front advances and then just stalls across our southern parishes and counties, and that provides kind of the jumping off point for additional rainfall end of the weekend and going into next week. Keep in mind, in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're going to be funneling a lot of moisture up and over this boundary, and when you get that that overrunning moisture, it will probably set the stage for this boundary itself to move back to the north, but also just overrunning showers and storms that could produce some heavier downpours as we set up through the weekend. Again, a lot of deep layered water funneling our direction as we head into the latter part of this weekend into the weekend, so it won't take much to generate rain and thunderstorms. The simple, just high amounts of water in our atmosphere and just the warm, humid environment, that's going to make up for a lot in terms of what's needed to generate thunderstorms. So as we continue to watch our ridge of high pressure flatten out and this lead disturbance 1, if you will, take shape and then eventually advance through the northern United States, you can see how much deep layered moisture is really just kind of trapped across the eastern half of the United States. Why? Because you've got this deep subtropical moisture being funneled in as we see this storm system kind of break into two pieces. Again, the trough of low pressure to the north, which will stay more progressive and sweeps off to the east. That's what's going to push the cold front into the region and stall it. And then we've got the upper low off across the Baja California coastline, which is going to kind of sandwich off to the southwest. It's going to hang out here and spin and continue to send more moisture our way. I love telestrating. It's so much fun. But anyway, so we watch this go into motion. Again, trough moves off to the east, brings the cold front and extends it through our area as we go into the weekend. Whoops. The front would actually look more like this going into the weekend. That's by Sunday afternoon. Meanwhile, you've got this upper low continuing to funnel high amounts, deep amounts of subtropical moisture through the region. So we continue to play this little cat and mouse game with the rain chances ebb and flow, up and down in the forecast through the weekend, early parts of next week. What brings an end to this? Well, eventually, that upper low is going to kind of get absorbed into the upper level pattern, open up and sweep eastward. And with it, it will continue to bring more moisture until it moves over our area and off to the east. If that sounds familiar, if you've heard that before in my forecast, it's a very similar kind of upper low scenario to what we dealt with during the ice storm, which was just funneling moisture our direction. The only difference is temperatures were way below freezing then, and so it was all frozen precipitation. So now you start to see that upper low open up a smidge and start moving eastward early to middle parts of next week. But it kind of has this kind of last laugh thing, so to speak, as it continues to just conveyor belt moisture, treadmill moisture, whatever you want to call it, through our area through the early to middle parts of next week. So we'll look at potential rain totals, and this is just raw model data, but instead of showing you 3 different images, I was like, let's show them all at once. This is a heck of a lot easier. Again, this is just model data, so not an official forecast, but it kind of gives you an idea of some of the numbers that are being thrown out by some of the different computer simulations that we use. The GFS, which is a global model, has been fairly aggressive with the 1 to 2 to 3 inch rain totals, perhaps even more, across parts of the Arklamis. Our Barron 15K model, which goes farther out in time and can stretch into Monday, is very lackluster with the rain totals. And then the NBM, which is a blended model output that takes a lot of different information and kind of gives us this final product, if you will. Again, has the 1.5 inch rain totals along the Mississippi Valley, with totals closer to 3 inches as you move back to the north and west. So the official rainfall forecast as it sits from the Weather Prediction Center, again, continues to keep us in a 1 to 3 inch swath of rain over the next 7 days. So that includes any storms that we deal with late tomorrow, which, again, most of our area probably pretty limited in that scope. Then there will be the possibility of rain and thunderstorms Saturday, rain and storms on Sunday, and even into the early parts of next week. So a lot of that is kind of spread out over several days. Again, I don't necessarily think that this will be a drought-busting rainfall, a burn ban-ending rainfall for a lot of the area. And I know you're looking at these totals going, how can you say that? I still have a lot of skepticism in regards to how widespread we can see those heftier totals. A lot of this will be storm-driven stuff. On that note, I'm not showing you the severe weather threats for 2 reasons. One, the vast majority of them do not include our area. Tonight's severe weather threat doesn't include our areas, way off to the northwest. Tomorrow's severe weather threat does include a marginal risk in our far western counties and parishes, but that's it, and that's really for late tomorrow night. And it is a very conditional, very marginal threat for wind and hail. Thursday, we don't have a severe threat. Friday, we don't have a severe threat. And then Saturday's threat is so marginal, it's not even really outlooked for our area either. So there's really nothing to show in that map regard. That's one reason why we're not showing it. 2, the Storm Prediction Center made some changes with their convective outlooks, which we know them as the severe thunderstorm outlooks or whatever. But they made some changes today in regards to how that information is being conveyed to meteorologists and then how we convey it to you, the public. And that involves new threat severity levels in terms of storm intensity and all these types of things. We'll talk more about them as we go deeper into the next few months and we get deeper into severe weather season. We can address these changes a little bit more succinctly. But they're relatively new changes that are taking effect today, but I think it's impacting how that data is coming through my graphic system, so we're not getting those maps right now. I think they'll get it squared away here soon, but it is a technical difficulty that is getting squared away. Again, it does not include any of our area, and we'll get more into those SPC changes over the next few days and weeks and months. Honestly, I don't like the changes. I think they are overcomplicated, and I think they're kind of misleading in how much we can truly inform the public in terms of severe thunderstorms. They didn't ask my opinion, so we just have to take the changes when they're given to us. And I'm also old enough that I can actually voice my opinion in those types of things. Again, it's not I'm not trying to talk down to SPC employees or government agencies. They all do a wonderful job. I think this was just a very unnecessary change. And that's just my 2 cents worth. And I also am very acknowledging of my opinion doesn't really matter to a lot of people. And that's okay. Daytime highs today will be at the low end of the 80s. Winds will be out of the south, 10 to 15 miles per hour, so staying warm and breezy. Leanne, Rhonda, Matus, Janet, Jan, thank you all so much for joining. We had Janice, Jan, and Janet. Boom, boom, boom in the comments. That's impressive. Overnight lows tonight, mid-60s. Clouds will continue to gather across the region. Look at the 7-day forecast made possible by 3B Hardware. All new numbers, although some of the numbers generally stayed the same. The latest forecast is available for your specific location at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. Mid-80s for highs, approaching record highs in some spots Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Morning lows in the low to mid-60s. The rain chances are up to 70% for Saturday. They have gone all over the place. On Sunday, I had them at 80%. Then I dropped them down to 50. Then I bumped them up to 60. Now I bumped them back up to 70. And I'm going to be honest with you. I still don't feel very warm and fuzzy about those numbers. I'm not overly confident in them. I don't feel the need to drop them any lower, because if I drop them lower, then I think it's misleading in the forecast. If I bump them up any higher, I think it's misleading as to how confident we are in the rainfall. So 70 is the number that I just settled on. Again, not necessarily warm and fuzzy about those numbers. And I still think there's changes to be made to the forecast as we go into this weekend. Morning lows will fall back into the mid-60s, and we will look for the rain chances to probably return after a brief hiatus for the early parts of next week, probably by Tuesday evening. But again, that's a long way out from now. Forecast, again, is always available at digitalweatherdesk.com and on the Digital Weather Desk app, available for Apple and Android users. I will join you at around 4:30-ish with our evening or late afternoon stream. And, of course, you have your fishing game later tonight at 8 p.m., and we'll get you squared away tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, again, the Floyd family gets ready to travel, so you'll still have 3 live streams tomorrow. At least that's what the plan is, and we'll just kind of play things by ear in terms of what's needed in terms of coverage for any storms in our area. I don't think it's going to be a widespread issue for our area, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Thanks so much for stopping by the Digital Weather Desk, powered by Century Next Bank. As always, we're so glad that you're part of our community, and we'll check in with you in a couple of hours. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.